Welcome, brothers and sisters. I have a great friend of mine now, Alena Rudkouskaya. I didn't do it right.
Almost.
I got it close. Now, Alena was a scientist and she's a sound healer and natural health enthusiast. Uh, and I just want to welcome you and and go ahead and tell folks what you've been doing lately, if
Of
you
course.
would.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It's such a joy and pleasure to be on your channel and have a chat with you. We already have started before recording. It was absolutely wonderful. So yeah, I'm a scientist slash clandestine healer. And these two passions for research and the natural healing was always kind of coexistent in me for many years, and the healer finally won. And I'm happy to say that I found a niche for myself even before I left my official work as a scientist from the medical center. I found the absolutely fascinating sound healing. It just seems so natural. It's so elegant, the solution, and there is actual very meticulous real science behind the mechanism of sound healing, to the point that even new branch of medicine has been coined, music medicine. So I'm using in my practice tuning forks such as those, which is the same one that I used for tuning the instruments. But instead of instruments, we can tune ourselves. Why? How does it sound?
Good. Oh, that's
Excellent.
nice.
Because sound is the basis of all our creation. And as such, it's the basis of our own biology, physiology, electric health, and whatnot. Furthermore, there is a big research, non-official yet, because this part of research is not funded by NIH or any official grant foundations. You know why, right? It's a
Oh,
big
yeah.
competitor
Truth,
for
who needs it?
pharmacy. But anyway, biofield is an electromagnetic energy field in a form of torus that surrounds every living being and the planet, and probably stars as well. So it's basically communicates. This torus field acts as a capacitor, so we can channel the energy from the earth through the what we call earth star chakra, like 2 feet below our feet, below
Walking
our
or
soles.
walking in
Yeah,
the grass with a bare feet,
exactly.
sand.
That's how we ground ourselves, and that's how we acquire free electrons, which is essential. It's electric juice on which we all run, basically, right? And also, we have a terminal above our head, sun star chakra, through which descending electric current. So we have ascending through the earth and descending through the sun star, which intertwine in the central channel of the torus, and then circulate around this 6 feet wide biofield, right? So this is one function of biofield. Another one is that it serves as a personal record of all our memories, conscious, subconscious, all the traumas that we acquire through our lifetime, and even before that, intergenerational traumas are all stored in our biofield. All kind of negative conditioning, programming, self-limiting beliefs, all can be found by the sound of a tuning fork that becomes distorted inside of these energetic blockages or stuck energy. And well, probably most of the people here who's into natural healing totally understand that the real origins of all our illnesses, all our disorders on the physical level, emotional, all this depression, anxiety, it all starts as energetic blockages, energetic distortions, including biofield. And what sound therapy does, by using sound of tuning fork, this pure tone that sends in very coherent and harmonious manner, sends this input into biofield, and it can detect by the changing the sound from this beautiful harmonious to incoherent and out of tune, these pockets and blockages of this heavy energy. And this kind of disorder, blockages, kind of perceived by our inner innate intelligence, this organizing intelligence, our this blueprint that is capable of restoring, of readjusting itself back to normal, back to factory settings, so to say. And what's beautiful about this method, it happens automatically without our conscious involvement, without no need to know when and how and what exactly happened. So it's just so natural and so elegant and so easy to do. And besides, who doesn't like beautiful sound? So it's very, very relaxing. At the very least, people are sent in the deepest state of relaxation because, again, sound has been determined that not only tuning forks, but generally harmonious music, like all these ancient sound tools, like gongs, Tibetan bowls, all kind of ancient instruments create such a profound sound bath that sends our nervous system into parasympathetic mode, which is rest and digest, as opposed to sympathetic, which is fight and flight. And that itself creates condition and basis of healing on all levels, physical, emotional, spiritual, and so on. So that's why I'm so excited and so...
It is exciting. I just saw a video this morning. This was made in maybe of the 40s or 50s. Well, maybe even a little earlier, 30s. A big church bell, and there were three young ladies getting up under the bell, and the man was ringing the bell. They knew that this was a healing thing. They weren't just doing it to be silly. This was a well-known fact that people could I don't know what you'd say, maybe get back in balance, maybe just be harmonious and relaxed after doing that. Now, you'd think maybe it would make them go a little deaf inside one of those big, because they were using this big beam that was probably 4 feet long and slamming it into that bell. So,
well, it sounds a little bit extreme for the healing to be directly inside the bell. It's a little bit too much. But honestly, church bells, like, well, any kind of bells, not necessarily church bells, were used forever and ever in the times of pandemics, kind of plagues and, some illness going on. One of the reasons is it creates certain frequencies that dispel all these disease frequencies, harmonizes the whole field, energetic field that we're all swimming in. So that's why it's so therapeutic.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Maybe these women were used this extreme sound
Maybe
healing as a way to dispel kind of demonic possessions.
It could have been. It could have been. I didn't investigate it much further after that. I have a little bowl that is it's actually a salt, what they'd used to put on the table, and they'd have a little spoon in there, individual meals. And it's sterling silver plated, and I happened to like drop it against something. Listen to that. I don't know if it...
Well, it doesn't sound much, but because of...
Yeah, I don't know if I'm getting this.
Well, now it's a little bit better. Yeah, I
But
can
it
hear.
is you can, and when I bet the same thing happens with the tuning fork. If you hold it up to your ear, you can actually hear it as it's getting quieter and quieter. That's an interesting effect as well. Have you done that? You must have, if you've been messing. How long have you been studying the tuning fork and the biofield tuning? When did that start to get your attention?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was 2019 that I first heard about this method of healing. It's been invented and characterized and basically put in motion by an amazing woman, Alena Rudkouskaya. She's a absolutely fantastic. I love her so much. She has such a acute analytical mind, very skeptical, very, down to earth. And at the same time, she's incredibly intuitive. And this very rare combination of research-oriented mind and this intuition that, this information that she
That
says it's
struck
like
me about
melts.
you, Alena. It's a rare analytical mind who can go from a biologist. Was that what your scientific study
Yes,
was?
biology is my
To a sound healer. Some people would probably give you the cold shoulder in the
oh yeah,
scientific realms.
I didn't advertise my passion, but
Right,
I
that's why it
use
was like
it all the
secret,
time.
a little secret. Shh.
Well, it's not like it was totally embarrassing, but
No,
yeah, people do not kind of frown upon this kind of
it's
sort of
coming together now.
approach. Yeah, exactly. That's why sound therapy, sound medicine is a perfect bridge between spirituality and science, because it explains everything. It's a theory of everything. It's how our multiverse was created. So what they call Big Bang, which is obviously sound, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Bang
that's right.
refers to sound, and so says all the ancient traditions, including Christianity. Yeah,
Yeah.
how yeah, how the
Well,
God
the
pleased.
song, like in the Bible, Psalms were mostly songs and played with music, harps. Um, and the Psalms are all songs that were sung. David was a great King David was a great musician and singer. So singing and dancing, and the native tribes all do that
Of
to
course.
to get balanced and just to enjoy life. But I think part of that is that it balances it, right?
Absolutely. And I
Uh,
have to say that this balancing sound as a basis of healing, balancing communication is also totally 100% applicable to the natural world. I have to tell you, that I just, well, I was I was taking a course of through Shift Network with amazing scientist, like into engineer that dedicated most of his career to the sound research. His name is John Stewart Reed. And what he found, what he collected the whole bunch of information in his course, is that, well, at least the nature reflects beautifully the sound that is underlies our very own creation. Because cymatics, the science of making sound visible, this also can be found in the patterns of leaves and atoms, the atomic alga,
mm,
and snowflakes and whatnot. Even Tartarian architecture clearly shows all this, beautiful
mm. The
climatic
rhythms
designs.
and the patterns, the rhythms and the patterns.
Absolutely, that's
Yeah,
right.
it's amazing.
And
As a matter of fact,
also, I'm sorry. So
go ahead.
I just want to finish about the connection between sound and the actually the very healing power of nature. Why we feel so good in the forest, at the ocean, in the some kind of water body, is because it's all of this, ocean waves, waterfalls, sound of river, white river, buzzing of the insects, bird songs, they all produce the sounds in the range of ultrasound frequency, like from 10 to whatever 40 kilohertz. And these ultrasound frequencies are found to be extremely healing for the whole range of disorders, like relief, pain relief, balancing hormonal system, whatnot, immune system, boosting immune system. But not only that, apparently the plants themselves are using sound from again wind, wind, insects buzz, bird chirping. The same frequencies are used by plants to adjust to the environment. Can you imagine?
Yeah, wow.
So they can perceive the bees around, and actually some pollinators, the plants, the flowers can distinguish certain pollinators by the frequency of their buzz, of the sound they emit. And in response to the sound, they can release the pollen from the anthers. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Everything
it's so intricate,
fine-tuned and so interconnecting. Oh,
yes,
amazing.
and it is amazing. Do you think that this is why the natural God flow rhythms, like the babbling brooks and the ocean waves, the birds singing, and even breezes in the trees, can be so balancing and soothing and actually be healing for people? Is that part of what the sound healing is doing?
Absolutely. All of this, all of the above, and even more. Not only that this frequency is so soothing because of the specific ultrasound range, and not only ultrasound, but at least that's what science determined, that this specific range ultrasound really healing. That's what they're trying to reproduce in the medical settings. But there is a different aspect of this nature sounds, nature settings, this wilderness. One of the very sage, very intelligent sound healer or researcher was called Stephen Halpern. He coined a very interesting phrase which goes, sound is a carrier of consciousness. And if you can imagine that, well, there's not much to imagine, but everything is everything natural matrix, so to say, is a God creation. It's a perfect consciousness. That's why interaction with natural world is so healing, because it allows us subconsciously, like non-verbally, communicate with God, basically. Would you agree? And also, I believe only humans were cut off from this direct communication with God source because of programming, because of all these manipulations without mind consciousness and mind control and genetic mutation, whatnot.
Radio
However,
waves and cell phone towers, all that.
Our modern civilization doesn't help either in all of this. However, this direct connection us always, if we can tune in, and being in the nature extremely helpful in this regard. I know personally some people who can directly communicate with trees, like psychically, to translate all this energy transmission into humans' words. I tried myself a few times in kind of questions and answers, and I think I got some communication from the trees, that I have beautiful tree in my backyard. But again, because I'm recovering from the trauma, abuse and stuff, and always unsure of myself, and
Well,
is
there's a
this
thing
what I?
about trees is that their lives are so slow and long. It actually takes a long time for them to communicate to you when you're trying to get answers. It's like you have to shift into a different rhythm.
Mm,
And that
that's
is
true.
practice. That takes practice, I would think. I don't talk to them either, but I sort of tell them how much I appreciate them.
Of course.
And I have had, just real quick, I think you'll find this sort of fascinating. I have had, as I just sit in the deep woods, what would be called wilderness, um, I have had birds actually interacting with me, not like a Disney movie where one lands on my finger and I sing to it, although that would be really cool too. I hold them out sometimes. No, but they actually, I started to understand not exactly what they were saying, but what they were doing. Like they actually praise the creator of all things.
Wow.
They also encourage you, and it's totally different when they do that. Um, so if you can get into a really quiet, deep woods setting, a forest where there's not like where you can't even hear cars anymore, if you can get into that place, you have more of that natural flowing rhythm, and it's more the way God made it. It hasn't been marred by all that, the negative noise that's designed that way, the negative
It's
stuff.
amazing. It's
So
amazing.
I thought that would connect kind of interesting to you since you are attempting to do that with a tree. Wait till the birds start talking.
Andrew, are you familiar with this series of amazing spiritual books from Russia? Raining Cedars of Russia, I think that's how it's called in English. This Anastasia series by Vladimir Megre.
No,
No?
but I'm writing it down.
Well, I highly recommend to find it and read at least a few of them. It's a series of communications, basically, of a person from a regular, you know, world, like modern Russia,
Mm,
businessman, so to say, with an amazing person living in Siberia, in the taiga, in absolute isolation from outside world. But somehow she's this woman, Anastasia, I guess it would be in English, is so in tune with her environment,
mm,
birds, animals, plants, and through all of this, she has direct connection to source energy.
mm-hmm.
And because of all of that, she's like an antenna. She can tune in to any person that she puts her mind in and heal him or her. And also she can also absorb this negative energy from the world to help
Mm.
stabilize and balance the energy. It's so amazing on so many levels. I cried on many occasions because it resonated so much with my. I read it in Russian specifically to get access to all these codes that were planted in these books by Anastasia herself. It's absolutely powerful and amazing. But why? What I'm getting at? I'm getting there. So, according to her, according to the teaching, spiritual teaching, humankind was designed to live in harmony with trees, with animals, with everything in nature, to the point that everything was designed to serve us humans. We don't even have to work hard to get ourselves fed and clothed and everything, because the idea was to help us to provide for any for any needs possible at all, given that we are returned the favor basically to stay in balance, to stay in harmony with our home, with our planet. Of course, it didn't last, but there was a period of time in our history when we lived this way. So there's I don't know how many pockets left of this old culture, old tradition. But
if you look back through the history of mankind, it's definitely far longer that we lived more harmoniously than we've lived out of balance.
Yeah, but we don't know about that, huh?
Yeah. No, and they've stomped it
struggle.
out. They've stomped it out of us. As someone who studies herbs, you have to be very careful how you recommend to people, because the medical community has a very powerful voice in DC, and they've passed laws that make it so they can say whatever they want to their patients, but you can't help someone heal themselves with natural things that you find in the woods that they've
Because you
figured
need
out.
a license to
Yeah.
practice here.
And as you well know, Miss Scientist, that they take from nature and patent it and chemically reproduce it to sell. You know, your favorite, the pharmacists. Yeah, now I'm going to be careful.
Correction. They try to.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes they kind of sort of approximate, but not always.
Sometimes they make people sick.
Because all these healing properties of plants, they work in all these substances and the bioflavonoids, polyphenols, and whatnot. They work synergistically. And when you try to isolate, it's like a lycopene. It was found all of a sudden that tomatoes are good for prostate health. Great, let's make a drug out of it. And it just happened that the tomato work, lycopene isolated doesn't. There you go. That's a revenge of nature. Only balance, only holistic approach works the way it was designed originally, right?
With other items a lot of times that tomato will actually work better when you eat it with, surprise, surprise, things we put in salads naturally. Why do we make a salad the way we do, or used to?
It tastes good.
Right, because it tastes good, right? Well, the North American tribes, a lot of them found that corn and beans and squash, not only do they help each other grow, that's called the three sisters, but they also, when eaten together, your body will take more of the nutrients out of all three of them when you eat them together. And tomato is one of those that works great with particular other plants. You know, the nutrients help your body absorb what's in the tomato better, or you know, some of the nutrients in the corn will help you to get more of a
unlock the nutrients from other.
Yeah, to unlock them, sure. And so and this is not just the Native Americans in North America, but all over the world. There's tends to be a lot of, I wish I could remember. No, I'm not going to come up with it right now, but there's some interesting books about the three sisters in other cultures as well. They don't always call them three sisters, but there's a lot of things in the Middle East. There's things in Africa that tends to be three things that grow well together. Their roots actually are nutritious, making nutrition for the plants. And then the fruit or grains that you get from the plant is helping to unlock. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
That's very interesting. I also found recently, by listening to one of the interviews that comes my way in terms of natural healing, it actually was the interview by the regular doctor who found eventually that the natural healing works the best. And his major topic of research, I don't remember his name on top of my head, but basically he's studying the nitric oxide and how to stimulate its production of this molecule, the signaling molecule. It's almost hormone. It's absolutely essential for our health, cardiovascular health, first and foremost, immune system, and the nervous system. It boosts cognition, and most of this action happens because of its vasodilating property. So this researcher, in collaboration with Chinese practitioners, traditional Chinese TCM doctors, which sent him samples of the major herbalistic medicine. And when this doctor in his lab analyzed it on gas analyzer, well, guess what? In every single formula, he found the massive production of NO, this nitric oxide gas, which means that the nitric oxide could be viewed as one of the aspects of chi, or prana, or whatever you're gonna call it. This life force that helps us to maintain our life, basically.
Yes.
Our function. Isn't
Wow.
it amazing?
Yeah, and that, and the Chinese herbal medicine, that has such a huge history. I mean, it's one of the oldest
Chinese and
in the world.
Indian, this Ayurveda. And if you think about it, back then, like 5,000, 10,000 years ago, do they have biochemical tests to find out what plant is good for? Did
What do
they
you think
run
it was?
clinical trials?
It's trial and error. Like grandpa died, don't eat that one. That's what it was. And how did they figure out that they work together?
Because they could communicate with plants directly, like direct knowledge. What is it? What plant was talking to them? Yeah. How is the best to use it? In which combination?
They sensed it because they lived in it. That's the garden. That's the garden that the Bible talks about. That's the garden. We were living in it until we turned our back on it.
That's true.
That's the garden. And we can't. There was a great song in the 70s, you got to get back to the garden. And people just thought, oh, like they're going to be gardening in their backyard. No, they knew. They knew. The whole hippie movement was getting back to nature. And then they put the drugs, well, I won't get into it because I'm going to put this on YouTube. But one of the 3-letter agencies decided we're going to introduce a lot of drugs into that because they were talking about God and nature and living in harmony in the woods. And we can't have that. Okay, so I won't go down that path. That's a little wild. You know what I'm talking about.
I have to tell you that the best of our scientists and doctors, I have a huge respect for Dr. Zach Bush. He's also one of those suppressed and banned on many levels. But he has a courage and he has a wisdom to promote a movement to defend the health of our soils, the fertility of our soils. And he has a huge research into gut health. And one of the most popular pesticides, Roundup, is the brand name glyphosate.
Yes.
Not coincidence that its overuse and abuse was just absolutely awful.
And now there's GMOs.
Is decline of our health on all levels, and that's because it kills not only microflora, this good soil bacteria, but also microflora in our guts, in our skin, in our mouth, and whatnot. So it's and it's really encouraging, kind of heartwarming that so many people are getting acute awareness of this connection. And not only awareness, but will to change the things. Sign petitions, organize these community gardens, to produce food.
It seems what is called holistic medicine is probably what everyone just called normal, and that's where we're going back to the garden, and that you're answering questions that I was going to ask you
Okay, go ahead
on a
anyway.
no, it's great. I mean, it's like somehow you've connected, and that's part of holistic medicine anyway. You take a bigger picture, right? And you're treating the whole patient instead of one aspect. And you're actually protecting them from getting ill rather than waiting and having to cut things off because they got too sick.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's the holistic thing. But to me, it's natural, and it's the balance. Like when you have your balanced garden and you sit out in the garden, then you get balanced. You're not one of the vegetables, but you're observing the vegetables. You're helping to grow the vegetables. You're connecting with the vegetables. You
That's
are.
true. That's true.
The microbes get on your fingers if they haven't been killed by the Roundup, and you might, you know, get a little bit in you, and that's a good thing if you don't
Absolutely.
if you don't have the toxic soil like you were just mentioning. And
Yes, we inject the spores of the bacteria that are capable to restore the balance, the right ratio of bacteria to maintain the most optimal
as you've
environment in our
taken the
body.
leap out of the dark closet of scientific rational thinking, have you noticed that more folks are becoming, as you are, seems to me, you are striking up a conversation more with more and more people? Do you get the sense that more people are becoming aware and alert to all these lies that we've been told in the past and the changes that are coming? Do you think they're becoming more aware of it from what you've seen?
It's hard to say, Andrew. I'm kind of confident that it's impossible not to notice. It's impossible to be, unless you willfully want to be blind
No,
to
there's
the
that.
truth. Because
There's that.
I have a friends in the medical profession who openly admit that the system is broken. Nothing works as it should. One of the not only administratively, all this nonsense, but also, well, anyway, the point is, even though the doctors fully understand and admit, at least for themselves, that the healing is not on the table in the medical profession. It's just matching
Great way of
symptoms
putting
with the
it.
right drug, and that's all.
Yeah.
It's impossible to do much about it unless you're willing to go independent. You
And it's
would be,
almost,
expelled from the profession in no time.
well, the last 2 years showed us that
Exactly.
scientists who were saying, I'm following the science. Here is the information that I've gathered in my reports or my experiments, and my colleagues here are with me to back me up on this, and they're like shut down. And then they start saying things about them, and so the money, that's part of the system though. These
Absolutely.
systems are
Absolutely.
going to go away, and we who are talking about these things will be making the new systems. What do you think about that?
I'd love to. I would love to have a community that is focused and centered on the natural healing, organic production, because it's a part of our health. And somebody told me, Bob Eden, I think, that there's a new movement taking shape, at least in Europe, when different people in different fields of healing, like psychiatrists, like mental health and other type of healing,
Herbal.
getting together, like creating a network to help each other and to help others to provide this service. I'm not sure. You see, as you mentioned, money is a big part of our
It's the system
problems.
we're in. That's
Mhm.
what we're in right now.
And because no insurance company will cover this cost of
Mm,
healing, you
It's
can
going to take a
imagine how
little
many people
longer.
can. can afford this. That's why, because there is a normal, I mean, by normal, I mean accepted field in the official medicine, like
Right.
functional medicine, integrative medicine, that practices almost everything that we're talking about today. However, if usually people who come this way, it's their last resort, right?
Mm.
Because they exhausted any other normal ways to get help, and it's expensive. It's expensive anyway. Look at it, and it's not going to be covered. So that's why it's rare, basically, and yeah, I wish it could be different. Well, anyway, it doesn't mean that we can't help, at least
Well,
in
that's
our
right.
mini circle of influence, right? And who
Yeah, and
knows?
the more that
Whatever.
you get a tipping point at some point of the awakening people, including doctors, including spiritual people. Well, so we just need to be careful we don't get stuck in little groups, because they subdivide us into little groups. This has happened in movements in the past. So like you're saying, this bigger sort of umbrella of people who can talk to each other and help each other. Oh, well, oh, you want to know about peppermint? Send them to Hiking Druid. Oh, you want to know about sound? Send them to Alena. You know what I mean? This kind of thing. And it's just happening. It's happening. It's organically. It's not super planned out, because it's a reaction to a necessity. London Bridge is falling down. So you got to get in gear. How are we going to get across the river? I mean, if the systems go boom, 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 boom all at once, I mean, hopefully it will be a slow fall, like a controlled demolition in a building, because
Yeah, one
otherwise
could only hope.
it could be hard if it doesn't. But I mean, change is hard. Just simple changes are hard for a lot of people. So big changes are very confusing to people, I think.
Yeah,
Even like well-educated people get very comfortable. Everybody gets comfortable in the way that they're living their lives, and you don't necessarily. You'll take the bad stuff just to be able to keep what you already know about. Not you, but a lot of people. I mean, so that's something we're up against, to keep shaking people. But most people will admit there's a lot of things wrong in the world today. But we don't want. But we don't want to have to go pick our own fruit. We want to go to the grocery store and pick it off the shelf. Now, that's a phenomena that's only happened for the last 80 years or so.
that's inertia, I know. And it's a real shame, because when you grow your own fruits, your own vegetables, greens, and stuff, it's not only food; it's a remedy. It's a healing device, if you will. Why, especially? This is a trick from Anastasia, the one that I talked before. If you really want to create a medicine for yourself and for your family, when you before you plant the seeds, put it in your mouth and keep it under your tongue for 30 seconds or so. Why? Because saliva and the cells, the DNA of your very own DNA would interact with the DNA of the future plant and instruct it to the set of nutrients that was designed exactly for your needs. So this is real food / medicine that we're growing for ourselves this way.
And
well, we don't have
you're
to go
giving
this radical way. Just normal seeds, normal planted in the usual
in your
way, or
backyard.
from nursery. Yeah. So if you communicate with it, like just mirrors,
That
looking at them,
intention.
talking to them, they interact and they adjust themselves for our needs. So that's why it's so important. Besides this, organically versus non-organic grown consideration.
Yes. And plants that grow together that actually help the plants either by keeping certain pests away that would get the other plant. There's all kind. That's a permaculture. In permaculture, they teach a lot about that. I've been studying that a little bit, quite well, a little bit over the last few years. And that is how you can really intensely grow a lot of plants in smaller spaces than what traditional farming has thought was even possible, because through science they've really gotten to know how these plants interact with each other, and then they're putting some of the spiritual teachings into it as well, with the intention, with science and intention. This is what this is the blend, I think, that's going to be stronger than if we just said, well, all those people don't know, so just put them over there and we won't ask them anymore. That would be pretty dumb, I think. You know, you need to have everybody getting in on the conversation, pretty much everybody. Anyone who wants to get in on the conversation, let's put it that way, we do have free will. Some people are just not, they're going to go, no
And
way.
that's their right, and we don't have to impose
That's
on
okay.
them our own view. And
Funny enough, I call that plant a seed, but don't dump the whole truckload of seed on them. Someone
exactly.
else might have to do the watering.
Yeah, there's a saying for that. We can show the, we can bring the horse to the water, but we can make it
Can't make
drink.
them drink, right?
And that's fine.
It's
Everyone
true.
playing their
Yeah.
game is the way they
About
want.
2 years ago, I was trying to convince everyone I know of what's going on. And then after a while, I'm like, wait a minute, but what? Yeah, just what we just spoke about. They have to decide. Each one of us has free will. We each have to decide on our journey. Is it onward and upward, or are we just going to keep
Yeah,
going
absolutely.
along? So all we can do is keep trying to talk about it, and it's, I think it is reaching more people. What I've seen in conversations is that it seems like more new people who were sleepwalking zombies. I don't want to be mean, but um, they were they're just starting to come to a point where a lot of us were maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I can tell by the questions, and some people are very impatient with that. I've found I make my videos sort of to that group. I figure there's enough people talking about a lot of the higher concepts, and they can graduate from my class and go happily on their way. But I try to keep it simple. To me, just if I can get them to take a walk in the woods, what they might begin to see. It's simple. It's simple joys. It, and I'm kind of a simple guy that, well, I
It's
think way
amazing.
beyond simple things, but I like living in a simple place. Not a simpleton, but simple. Uh, I don't even know if that makes any sense.
No, 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 it does. So, I mean, yes, it does. So, so do you take like a guided tours in the wilderness with this group of people? How do you do this?
Well, I've thought about that, but I live way off the beaten path. But there are roads, so people could get here. That's in the future. This is part of what I have, a 21-acre farm coming to me through like what we have done with Mark Atwood's class. So
Wow,
it's coming, okay, and it's going to have guest homes that people from cities can come and stay and put their hands in the ground, take horseback rides and hikes, and even self-guided hikes through the forest. But I'll be teaching them also.
it's
Um,
amazing.
this is what this is so close I can taste it. I live in a place where there's lots of land all around that's still affordable. Like it's so affordable that Amish people are buying up the old farms that no one was farming. Yeah. I mean,
It's a huge
it's
project,
here.
lots of
It
work.
is. Yeah, it is. So, I mean, there'll be people that will be involved that I mean, this is what will happen. That first of all, I don't have the money to buy at this point right now, but it's coming. I feel it. It's coming. Whatever it will be in the system that we're going to, I don't know that I'll need, cash to do it. I might just need the intention that I'm going to help a lot of people to relearn the God flow. I'm getting off what you were talking about.
That's
But
beautiful.
it's part
It's a
of,
beautiful vision.
yeah, it needs to happen. And then also I can teach people how I did it once I do it. So these
Right.
farms can, and I'm already seeing people in Mexico starting communities where there'll be people that can lend themselves to building if they're carpenters, or farming if they're farmers, or singing if they're singers. And they'll all, it's similar to communes, but not communes. We don't want to, don't go there again. But there's no, I don't know. It's not like that. It's where we're headed, though. We'll know because we're going to know the good people. The good people. I think we already do know a lot of the good people when we meet them. Another neat thing is, oh, now I'm going off, but are you starting to realize as you're experimenting with these modalities that you are able to detect the goodness in people easier than you could before, or vice versa, the badness? If like I could detect lies from 10 miles away now. And I used to just want to love everybody, and trust everybody. But when I'm hearing crap now, I've been really practicing my discernment, and I call it put it through the God sieve. What would Jesus do is another way that I've heard people say it, but um, I'm detecting the BS a lot easier than I used to.
Good
I
for
think.
you.
Do you
Good.
notice that at all?
Yes, I can definitely affirm that it's easier and easier to
Taking
navigate
steps
in the sea of information.
than like 2 years ago, even.
Absolutely. And well,
Mm.
there's different ways to kind of hone your discernment tool. I use a little bit different when I really need to make a decision. Well, there's a formula that I learned from another spiritual teacher, Swan, Till Swan. It goes like that. Would the person who loves herself do this or that, choose this or that? And the
Okay.
first answer, the first thought, the first words that come into mind would be wisdom from our high self, the one that is above and beyond, our
Yeah.
ego and programming and mind control. So this is one. So muscle testing is a part of the applied kinesiology system when the practitioners test literally the strength of the muscle to detect and to control some kind of dysfunction in the musculoskeletal nervous system. So we can use the same method to see how strongly some people use this kind of or this kind of muscle testing. So the thing is, when we ask the question, true or false, does this food good for me? Does this herb works for me? And if it's true, our muscle works strong and hold this ring, for example, or this ring. You can do it in multiple ways, but the idea is the same. If the muscles are strong, regardless of how strongly you pull this apart, that means that this statement is true, that this supplement, this or that decision is good for us, is aligned with our highest good, because our bodies never lie, right? This
Right.
is our divine vessel, avatar, that always serves us for our highest good, never betrays, and whatever they say, it's our best friend, which wants and knows how to heal itself if we get out of its way. So anyway, muscle testing is another wonderful way to discern Is it good or bad for you? On
Mhm.
absolutely all levels. Again, there's some nuances that you have to be aware of to
Did you mention somebody that you were watching or that you've learned about muscle testing from? Is there a person you might
Oh,
recommend?
yes, the friend of mine, you probably know about her, Lorraine Ham, another absolutely incredible healer. She uses this method all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, she knows much more about it,
And she has videos
how
on
to
YouTube,
hone it. Yes,
right?
she has a YouTube
Yes.
channel. She's part of our
I think
monetized.
I've seen a couple of her videos actually
Mhm.
recently.
Maybe you want to also to these conversations, or we can have a group round table. I can host it
That could
right
be
here.
interesting. Yeah. Okay. It's Hamm, I think. Lorraine Ham, if I
H
remember
A
right.
M HAM. Mhm.
Oh, just one M. Okay. Well, that could be interesting. This is going places I didn't see it. That's what's fun about, jumping out there and doing something different. And meeting people that are trying to make a difference in the worldly realm. It's exciting. It really is thrilling to me. Look,
Yes, that's a, yeah. That's how we find each other because we are on the same wave, on the same book.
yeah, ride the wave,
I like
like they say in
attracts
California.
like.
Ride the wave. Look, I have one more question and then I'll let you go. And I appreciate you coming, but this one is I think this is my favorite. Simple joys and playfulness are so important now. I've seen you pointing this out in some of your videos, and it seemed to me like it was something you were coming to maybe over the last few months or years. What do you think is a good way to do that? How do you like to do that? How do you like to get your simple joys and your playfulness going? I'll put you on
Well,
the
thank you
spot.
for this great question, and this is so true. To maintain our balance, joy, and just plain sanity in these interesting times that we are live. So,
Roller coasters.
yeah, playfulness is a key. It's first of all, it's a part of our electric health because all constant worrying and depressed depressions and anxieties are not helpful any way you look at it. So, on the other hand, it's supposed to be fun. This is a game. This is computer simulation. But this is the purpose to have fun, whatever it takes. So, how can we achieve this fun? Whatever makes you tick. And sound, music is number one. Dancing. For me, dancing is so much. Oh, it just gives so much joy and
I hear you.
satisfaction. This is me. This I was born to dance really. And reading books, the one that you like, watching videos or movies that make you laugh and makes you feel good. I don't know why people like horror movies or some
Oh,
suspension
no.
movie. Oh my gosh, and pay money for that to be scared and
And they laugh when they get scared to death. That's weird to me, too. I don't like it. It lives in my head too long in a negative way. I like positive love and good things. Laughter. Watch a
laughter.
friggin' comedy.
Absolutely, best medicine. Laughter, totally.
It's true.
Whatever
It's so
makes you
true.
happy.
Oh, that's
Don't
great.
worry, be happy. It's one of the best advices that I
Yeah,
can
that
ever
made a great
get.
song. That was a great song. And a funny video has Robin Williams running around in it. That's a great video. If you haven't seen it lately, check that out. Don't Worry, Be Happy. Bobby McFerrin and one of his best friends when he was coming up and making all this fun music. He plays his body like an instrument too, by the way. You need to check out some of his videos, Alena. He
Okay.
makes his body instruments. Talk
Wow.
about sound, very unique. But one of his friends was Robin Williams, who was one of my favorite comics. And he's horsing around in this video. Don't worry. I mean, don't.
Don't worry, be
Yeah, don't
happy.
worry, be happy. Yeah, I thought I was reversing that. Don't be happy, worry. No, that's what they want us to think.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that out, guys, and check
Thank
that out,
you.
Alena. You'll love that. Yeah, that's a fun video. And so, all right, we'll wrap this up. And I appreciate this visit, this little sit on the park bench, this little
Thank
stroll
you.
up through the mountain meadows. It's pretty easy going, but and yet we covered some pretty amazing stuff, didn't we? So, anything that you'd like to talk about as far as um, things you have going on that you want anybody to know about?
Um,
But I'll put some of your information
no.
down below in the
Yeah. Yeah, I will leave you my
video.
links on the YouTube channel, and whoever's interested in what I'm doing will
Yeah,
find me.
you can actually book. You can book time with Alena to do this healing for you, and you go to her YouTube channel and check out some of her. She's done some pretty amazing stuff, and she has a beautiful cat as well. So
Ah,
we,
yep, she's a
we love
YouTube
cats in this
star.
house too. So and gardening. I mean, this is great stuff. So, but the healing is important, and so yeah, pay attention. You might learn something. That's what Bill Cosby used to say at the beginning of his show. Anyway,
Oh,
all right.
thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be uh, to, to have this wonderful, fun conversation with you, and hopefully we'll meet again at some point.
I feel that we will. I really do. Thanks,
All right.
Alena.
Bye bye.